What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It's now time to give you my top 10 most overrated teams heading into the 2023 college football season. Yesterday, I gave you the top 10 most underrated teams heading into 2023. You can go back and watch that video if you haven't seen it yet, and also leave a link in the description down below, and you can go back and watch that video of the most underrated teams. This time we're giving you the most overrated teams for 2023. These teams are going to be just based off of how much hype they're getting into 2023, and will they live up to those expectations that they expect them to do. Sometimes, some overrated teams, they do, not live up to those expectations, sometimes, and, also, they were underrated, heading into this year, and then, of course, they don't live up to those expectations. Maybe they were overrated last year, but anyways, let's get right into it here with my top 10 most overrated teams here for 2023, and we'll start here with number 10. TCU is at number 10 here. They were 13-2 overall last year in 2022. Team that made it all to the playoff last year, and then, of course, made it to the championship game, got blown out in that last game against Georgia. I think this TCU team, they're going to be really good this year, but in my opinion, they're still getting a lot of hype after that playoff, berth and stuff. But I think this team right now is overrated. I think, they are overrated heading into 2023. I think they're not the worst team in the Big 12, though. I think they're right there in the dark horse contenders. I just don't think this is going to be the same TCU team as we saw last year. But don't get me wrong, I think they'll still win probably 8 or 9 games perhaps in 2023. But this team, I think, is getting too much hype. They're really ranked, in the top 25, in the way too early top 25 in spring football as well in the top 25. So TCU, I think, is overrated heading into 2023. That's how they ended up here at number 10 on this list. Number 9 is North Carolina. North Carolina is very overrated, I think, heading into 2023. They were 9-5 last year. Maybe they lost those last couple games on the regular season schedule. And they lost to Clemson in the ACC championship. Then they lost to Oregon. So they lost 4 straight there at the end of the season. And that's how they ended up in this overrated list. I think North Carolina, like last year, they were starting to really turn things around. They were really good down the stretch there in the month of November. And then after they lost those games in the month of November and then in the month of December, I think North Carolina was definitely overrated last year. But this year, I think they're still overrated in 2023. This team is still kind of giving a lot of hype, even though they did lose their last 4 games from last year. But I think North Carolina is definitely overrated heading into 2023. But I think they'll still be a contender for the ACC championship. I'm not saying they're going to be that bad. I just think with all the hype they do have, they're going to be just overrated in my opinion. Number 8 is Texas. Texas comes in here at number 8. They were 8-5 last year in 2022. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Texas is going to be a really good team this year. But the hype they're just getting, I think this team is overrated a little bit. I mean, I think they're not really overrated. I just think they're a little bit overrated. Yes, I know Arch Manning's coming in, and also Quinn Ewers is coming back at quarterback. I think this team is still overrated in my opinion. This team does play Alabama on the road on the non-conference, and it's also their last year in the Big 12, so they want to make it count. And yesterday I talked about with Oklahoma, they're definitely underrated, and they want to make the last year of the Big 12 count. But Texas is also wanting to do that. But I think Texas this year, with all the hype they're getting, they're definitely overrated in my opinion. I think last year, I think they were kind of overrated as well. But I think they were definitely underrated heading into 2022. I think this was a team that was kind of overrating them last year, but maybe I underrated them just a little bit more. This year, I'm going to say that they're overrated, in my opinion, heading into 2023. So Texas comes in here at number 8 on this countdown. Moving on to number 7, USC. USC, I think, is definitely an overrated team in 2023. This team, is getting so much hype, even though they didn't make the playoff last year, and did, of course, lose those last couple games. They lost the Pac-12 championship and also lost, the bowl game against Tulane. I think this team is still going to be good, but I think they won't be probably a playoff contender, perhaps. I mean, this team is so close to being a playoff contender, but the Pac-12 is really what gets to them. The Pac-12 schedule is obviously going to be really tough. They do have to play Oregon and Washington both on the schedule. And, there are other teams out there battling for that Pac-12, playoff spot. And, there are so many teams that can make the playoff in the Pac-12. You got 4 teams in there battling for that Pac-12 championship spot. And there's a really good opportunity that USC could lose 2 games in the regular season. So in my opinion, I think, they're getting too much hype as well. I think this team is a little bit overrated for 2023. Not really overrated, though. I think USC will be really good on the offensive side of the ball. It just comes down to that defense for this team heading into this season. Number 6 is Tennessee. Tennessee, I think, is very overrated for 2023. This is a team that's coming off an 11-2 record from last year. One of the fastest offenses in the country and one of the most explosive offenses in the country. Now, what concerns me about Tennessee this year is that, they do have to replace Hendon Hooker at quarterback and also wide receivers Jalen Hyde and Cedric Tillman. And I think this is a team that's just overrated in my opinion. I think, they're just getting too much hype as well. People are not really respecting Joe Milton either, but I think Joe Milton is a great quarterback, but I think Tennessee is just going to be a little bit different than they were last year. I think you don't want to hype them up too much heading into 2023 just because of how the season went last year. It's about this season now. It's not really about last year now for Tennessee. This season is about this season. So Tennessee, I think, is very overrated heading into 2023. I think this team is good enough, to where they can challenge Georgia in the SEC. But let's be honest, Tennessee, I think, is getting too much hype still after last season, and I think Tennessee is just overrated a little bit heading into 2023. Moving on to the top 5, number 5 is Clemson. Clemson coming off an 11-3 season last year. Of course, winning the ACC championship game, but in the last couple years, it's just been up and down for the Tigers. The last couple years, the offense has just not lived up to the expectations, and I think Clemson was definitely overrated last year. Maybe they were underrated as well in 2021, or maybe overrated, I should say. Maybe this team, could have been better last year if they did get an offense going. DJ Ogilvy really struggled on the line of scrimmage and also really got pressured a lot. I'm kind of expecting Caleb Klubnik to run the table for this Clemson team. If he stays consistent, Clemson's going to be good. But, the thing about Caleb Klubnik is that he takes really too long to throw the football. He doesn't throw it downfield a lot, or maybe throws on the run. So Clemson is a team that you definitely have to be worried about. I would worry about Clemson a lot here in this season. Definitely the offense is really the number one concern for them. If Clemson can get a good offense going, this team can be a playoff contender, but as of right now, they are definitely overrated heading into 2023. So Clemson, I'm kind of really concerned about them. If they don't get that offense going, things are just going to fall apart for this Clemson team in the future. Number 4 is Penn State. Penn State, I think, is overrated heading into 2023. This is a team that's getting a lot of hype heading into 2023 as well. You look at the top 25 rankings in the way too early top 25. They were number 10, or I should say in the top 10 in the rankings. And then, of course, in the spring football, I did rank them at number 5. But this Penn State team, I expect them to be still good enough, to where they can challenge Ohio State and Michigan in the Big Ten, perhaps. But this team is getting so much hype, after that really good season last year, and that's why I have to put them on this overrated list. So Penn State, I think, like I said, could challenge, Ohio State and Michigan in the Big Ten. But like I said, it's going to come down to their schedule, and also comes down to both of their sides of the ball. And they do have the talent. They do have the talent to beat Michigan and Ohio State, but it's going to come down to both sides of the ball for Penn State. And like I said, I think they're a little bit overrated heading into 2023. I think this is still going to be a really good team, but in my opinion, they're just a little bit overrated. Number 3 is Colorado. Colorado is definitely overrated in 2023. And this team is getting so much hype, even though they went 1-11 last year in 2022. Yes, I know Deion Sanders has really kind of turned this program around. They brought in some transfers and also a great recruiting class. But this team is still overrated in my opinion. I would probably say they're underrated for, 2023, but this is a team that's coming off a 1-11 record last year. And plus, they do have a tough schedule. So Colorado definitely is overrated, in my opinion. And, I don't really expect them to be good in, Deion Sanders' first year. It's going to be hard to tell with that Pac-12 schedule. In the Pac-12, it's definitely wide open every single year. It's going to take time for Colorado to get back to that, winning category in the Pac-12. So, definitely, Colorado's definitely overrated in 2023. I really don't see this team being all that good, but maybe they could surprise me. You never know. They could probably turn things around and be an underrated team, but this team is definitely overrated. Just too much hype for this team coming into 2023. Let's go now to number 2. Texas A&M. Texas A&M is still overrated in my opinion. This is a team that's coming off that 5-7 record from last year, and they had the number 1 recruiting class. Yes, they do have a talented production coming back, but I think it's still a team that, is very overrated. Sometimes they can be a little bit sluggish on the road, and also sometimes when they play on the field. And, Texas A&M likes to talk smack to other SEC teams, like Alabama, for example. They do get them at home, so maybe that's a winnable game. Maybe if they win that game, Texas A&M is definitely underrated, but as of right now, they're overrated in my opinion heading into 2023. I mean, this team, even though they went 5-7 last year, they're still getting they're still getting a lot of hype with all the production they have coming back. But I think this team is still overrated in my opinion. Last year, I was definitely overrating them. This is a team that was projected to go to the playoff last year. But this team right here is definitely overrated in my opinion heading into 2023. So they end up here at number 2. But they're not the most overrated team in 2023. And we go to the number 1 spot. The most overrated team for me on this list heading into 2023 is definitely the Florida State Seminoles. Florida State is definitely the most overrated team in 2023. This team is getting a lot of hype. Don't get me wrong, they're getting a lot of hype, but that's how they ended up here at overrated and number 1 on this list. And don't get me wrong, I do love Florida State this year. I'm kind of expecting them to live up to those expectations. But with all the hype, will they really succeed with those expectations? But right now, I got to call them overrated. I would say that they're underrated in my opinion. Last year, I think they were definitely underrated. Some of them think that this Florida State team was overrated last season. But they were definitely underrated in my opinion. I expected them to win 10 games, and this year I'm definitely overrating them, so I got to go the opposite way. So Florida State, I think definitely is an overrated team heading into 2023, and they're also the number 1 most overrated team heading into this season. It's just because of all the hype they have coming in, and also I know they do return a lot of production from last year. I think this team is just getting too much, hype heading into 2023, where I can just put them here at number 1. So Florida State ends up here at number 1. And those are my top 10 most overrated teams heading into 2023. Let me guys know what you think about this list here. What do you think? Do you agree or disagree? Do you think somebody else should have been on this list? Let me know down in the comments below. We'll continue to do more off-season prediction, off-season looks for the 2023 college football season. I will definitely do more top 10 videos like this one as well. And again, we're saving these up until we do those predictions in the month of May. And stay tuned here for more sports content on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.